Hey guys, so today I'm planning to talk a little bit about um, human error. Uh, I feel that in any aspect of life, you're going to have a lot of things that you can keep really simple, or you can make it more complicated than it needs to be. And through hunting and trapping and fishing, camping to any outdoor venture that I have uh, put myself into, I figured out that I really like to just keep things simple. And by that I mean not having more things than I need. You could say ultralight maybe, but it's not even that I'm trying to lighten things up. Just trying to get rid of things that are unneeded. I feel like when I was in college, I would sit in my dorm room and look up a bunch of different stuff. I came across, these guys living out in the wilderness, building their own cabin or shack to live in, and just kind of doing everything on their own, living simply. And that kind of really inspired me to do that in certain aspects of my life. And it was around that time that I also decided to get rid of my compound bow. I had a Bowtech Assassin, which was something I bought when I was 16. I remember I was working at a Christmas tree farm, and I got my first big paycheck, and that's the first thing I bought was that bow. I think it was like $600 to $800, something like that. And my parents were not happy with me, but it was probably one of the best purchases I ever made. I spent a lot of time shooting it. I hunted a lot more than I had been. I shot my first buck with a bow with that Bowtech Assassin, and then also shot 2 bears, and then another buck, and some does in between. So that was really a great bow for me, but following the simplicity thing that I had been talking about, I decided to get rid of it. I thought that dealing with cams and pins and all the nuts and bolts that can loosen up with a compound bow, I wanted to just go to stick and string. So I sold my Bowtech Assassin without even having another bow at that point, and found a bear grizzly recurve bow at a Goodwill, and that's what I started using. I got some arrows for it, and just started shooting, and it's a totally different ball game. You really got to be an archer when you go to traditional. It opened my eyes to realize how easy it can be for someone who's never shot a bow before to go and grab a compound bow that's set up properly for them and start shooting decent sized groups fairly quickly. And that's great. In hunting, I feel like there's a balance. We got to be as lethal as we can, as hunters. That's the right thing to do for the animals. I think if there's anything that can give us an advantage as far as being more ethical, more lethal with our shots, with our shot placement, that's something that we should definitely do. And you can definitely argue that traditional archery is not as accurate. There's not as much power or speed behind that arrow, so you're not getting the kind of penetration that you would with a compound. And it's just something that we really need to think about. I like the fact that there's not a whole lot that can go wrong with a compound or say a recurve or a longbow. Obviously, you gotta maintain it just like you would any bow. make sure there's not any cracks or splits in the limbs, make sure your string's in good order, and shoot. You gotta practice all the time if you're shooting compound or traditional. But I do like the fact that I don't have to worry about, okay, did my pins get knocked or bumped a little bit on the way over here? Are my cams lined up like they should be? You know, I feel like there's so many things that can go wrong. And then if you do miss, you know, with a compound bow, a lot of times it's easy to blame that on your equipment. Oh, my pin was messed up. I used my 30-yard pin, not my 40-yard pin. My release didn't work properly. And, you know, with traditional, if you mess up, if you miss or whatever, most of the time it's your fault. The thing that I tend to like about the traditional also is if you're not on top of your game, you know, if I can hit a paper plate at 25 yards. If I do something wrong in my form, you know, I'm missing the target completely. So it's kind of nice to know that you're either going to be right on or you're just going to miss the animal completely. Versus with the compound, you know, you can be off by a foot and you can be hitting that deer in the guts or what have you. And that's kind of why I transitioned to traditional archery. I still have that bear grizzly. I'm looking to kind of upgrade to, you know, a better bow. That one apparently has bad glass, I've been told. I think I've got the green glass, not the black glass, something like that. So I will be hopefully purchasing a new recurve longbow. I haven't decided yet, here soon. And I probably will get another compound bow at some point. You know, I think that as far as how accurate they are, how powerful they can be, it really opens up your opportunities as far as what and when you can go hunt. And that's why they started archery seasons in the first place, is to get more people out there to enjoy the outdoors. So whatever opportunity I have to get out there, I'm gonna do that. And you know, now we're kind of entering the new era of crossbows, and I have a few friends that have crossbows, and I think it's kind of the same thing. You know, you reach that point where you're trying to be ethical and lethal. Crossbows are very accurate for anyone who would go and pick one up, but just like any sort of weapon, I mean, you're using these things to take a life, and you can't take that lightly. So you need to practice, whether you have a recurve, longbow, compound, or crossbow. Make sure you get out there and practice. Make sure that you know, you're using the right broadheads and arrows for the game you plan to harvest, and just go out and have a good time. So that's a little bit of a rant about traditional archery, I guess. Didn't really know what I was going to talk about a whole lot besides the fact that I do like to keep things simple. And that goes for everything. If there's more stuff to go wrong, I tend to not like it. I like less parts, less things to worry about. Just kind of puts your mind at ease, and I can focus on what I feel is most important, and that's just being out there and enjoying myself. So with that, hopefully you guys are out there shooting your bows. Bow season's coming up here real soon. Out west, I know there's some seasons opened already, but keep it up and go have some fun outside.